Welcome to the Campbell Museums. Mundane objects like men's jewelry have many stories they can tell. In this video, I explore just a few of these stories. Think of this video as the abridged history on men's jewelry. This video is part of our What's in the Box series, where I pull a box from storage and see what we find inside. So check out the box number 2 playlist for more. Men's fashion is no small topic, but in our box, we have cufflinks, a shirt stud, and a tie clip. So let's explore how those items came into and fell out of fashion. Men's jewelry is not as common as it once was. Now, often reserved for formal events that require morning dress, white tie, or black tie. But over 100 years ago, it was commonplace among the middle and upper classes. Men's jewelry sets often included matching cufflinks, shirt studs, a tie clip, a fob watch and chain, and signet ring. You cannot wear any of these items without a dress shirt. Men have worn shirt-like garments for thousands of years, but for most of history, the shirt has been considered an undergarment worn next to the skin to prevent our outer garments from being soiled by close contact with the body. It wasn't until the early 1500s that tiny ruffles, the first ancestors of cuffs, began to appear at the wristbands. As these evolved, men would put strings or narrow ribbons through holes in the wristbands to keep their sleeves closed. At the same time, collars began to appear. Now that we have the makings of a dress shirt, we can accessorize it. At the turn of the 1700s, cufflinks replaced ribbons to secure shirt sleeves at the wrist. An early style was metal connected by a small link or chain, and they were reserved for the wealthy. Then, in the mid-1800s, as the first industrial revolution was reshaping Western society, it also reshaped their shirts, giving them the modern dress shirt. The shirt cuffs and collars were quite stiff due to heavy starching, and they needed strong connectors to keep them closed. Enter the modern cufflink and shirt stud. Our cufflinks are a direct result of this time period. They were made sometime between the 1870s and 1910s by the Horton and Angel Co. of Attleboro, Massachusetts. Attleboro was the center of the jewelry industry in the United States during the 1800s. The jewelers of Attleboro had created and perfected a process of gold fill. Most Americans in the 1850s could not afford gold, but gold fill not only made these cufflinks easier to mass produce, but this early costume jewelry was accessible for middle-class buyers. And due to this affordability, from the 1850s on, almost everyone in the middle and upper classes wore cufflinks and shirt studs. In fact, most shirts were simply made with holes for attaching the studs, rather than the buttons we are used to today. And I do mean almost everyone. Around this time, dress shirts became an acceptable item of women's clothing, which meant that women wore cufflinks too. Dress shirts are always decorated with a tie of some sort around the collar. Neckties have been popular since the late 17th century, when the scarf-like cravat was in vogue. But it was not until about 1850 that the typical long tie of today became prevalent, often tied in a 4-hand knot. Men's jewelry now included the tie pin or tie clip. The 4-in-hand tie moved around if not secured in place by a waistcoat. This was done with tie pins or tie sticks, which affixed the tie directly to the shirt. The pin could also be used to keep the knot in place. But around 1920, when silk ties grew in popularity, the tie clip came to replace the tie pin, since the clip did not poke through the tie and leave a mark. Our tie clip was made by the Hickok Manufacturing Company, which was founded in 1909. By the 1950s, Hickok Manufacturing had become the world's leading producer of men's accessories, such as belts, wallets, cufflinks, and tie clips. This tie clip was customized for its owner, Melvin E. Janassi, using his initials. How did these once common items become relegated to formal events? Partially thanks to the Duke of Windsor in the 1920s. The Duke greatly influenced male fashion, and part of his legacy was casualness. In the 1920s, the shirt evolved yet again, splitting into two new branches, and the Duke helped popularize these new looks. First, a more casual style dress shirt with an unstarched collar and cuffs. Second, the newly created sport shirt. Neither of these modern shirt styles required cufflinks, shirt studs, or tie clips. As the 1900s progressed, when men wore suits, sometimes they reached for their tie clips and cufflinks, but the increase in the casualization of fashion eventually led to their decline. Today, in the United States at least, men's jewelry is largely associated with formal wear or with the fashionably inclined. Which is too bad, because this jewelry allowed men a little fun self-expression, which today is often only achieved through silly ties. Mundane objects can contain big stories, and men's jewelry has a lot to say. What other stories might it tell?